There are men who have fallen off, and that has been talked about to exhaustion, I would say, over the last 35 years, maybe even further than that. But in my lifetime, about 35 years of deadbeat dad conversations, whether it's through television shows, and then eventually the music started to talk about this, the daytime talk shows. If you think of all the daytime talk shows that date back to the mid 80s all the way up, the idea of a deadbeat father was very, very common. Just go down the list. And so the idea of men being useless, men being incapable, men being a piece of feces, that's been the idea. Pushed and pushed and pushed. Men are abusive. Men are just a bunch of ATMs that walk around and are incapable of raising children or doing the right things or leading or making very good decisions. They just don't get it. Yeah, that's been the idea. Yeah, I would say for the majority of my lifetime, that's the idea that's pushed. The opposite of that is not pushed. The dad who is capable of teaching, being present, being active, being there. And thank goodness, the majority of the men that I know are there for their children. Yeah, my best friend is there for his son. Oh yeah, the majority of the men that I know are very much active in their children's lives. So this idea that men are never there and don't take responsibility, yeah, that's an idea that's pushed quite heavily. So much to the point to where people don't even believe, especially within the black community. Oh, yes, forget about it. I mean, I'm talking about men in general, but when you speak on the black community, that's a whole different discussion. And you know what else? My father is a good man as well. No, he wasn't present the way that I would have liked, okay, due to what I'll call relationship residue. But overall, he is a good man as well. He doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, worked for the city, did quite well for himself. I didn't have long moments with him, but he was present. I'll give him that. I mentioned in the previous episode that the majority of my childhood was spent with my 3 mothers. But my father was there. And I understand more so now. You know, most people will say, well, do you think he should have been more active? Well, there is no shoulda, woulda, coulda, because I have no regrets. I'm very happy with how my childhood turned out. And I'm very happy with how my adult life has turned out so far. Would it have been different had my father been more active? Maybe. But there's no turning back, and it's not like I can't speak to him right now, today. So I'm grateful in that sense. And even though he was not as active as maybe I wanted him to be during my developmental years, the genetic code is very strong. And with this genetic code, I picked up on many of his traits. I don't smoke. I don't drink. And I try my best to be as upstanding as I can. The majority of the men that have crossed my path or that are currently associated with me are there for their children. Last year, 2020, an incident took place. A man who did everything that he could do within his profession, gave it all to his profession, his profession of basketball. Yeah, he strived to be a master on the court, an assassin on the court, someone who would really give it to you in terms of opponents. I'm talking about Mr. Kobe Bryant. Now, I watched this man play ball from 1996 all the way up until retirement. And it was fascinating. I remember the moments. I remember the parades I attended. I remember the games, watching with groups, I remember watching the playoff games, and I remember cheering him on in the crowd at Staples Center. I remember watching this man grow up. I mean, he's only, 2 years younger than me. We're both from the same generation. And to see this man play was amazing. Just the effort. Now, I believe Kobe Bryant may have been among the first. Maybe he wasn't the first person to do it, but he was among the earlier players that would do it. You know, he would have his daughters on his lap as he's, answering questions. And I loved that. I remember thinking that. I loved seeing that because of this idea that men are incapable of being good fathers and being present for their children. And I remember thinking how important it was for people to see that that can happen, especially from a melanated being, because we have had so much negative attached to our image. I didn't know the man personally, okay? So I don't know the behind the scenes, right? And I can't just say, well, whatever's in front of the camera is what is, all right? I'm not one of those either. However, it still was a good thing to see. And so last year, unfortunately, Kobe Bryant transitioned. And very heavy. Very heavy. I was going to work the morning it happened. I was on my way to downtown Los Angeles, interestingly enough. Actually, was on the bus passing Staples Center the morning that it happened. And I remember it was very foggy in Los Angeles, and it was a very eerie feeling, very still. I remember that. And I'm an empath. I'm a healer. I pick up on things, and I knew something was just not quite right, and I couldn't put my finger on it until I got to work. And so I was there in downtown LA the day it happened. You had so many fans going to Staples Center that day. I mention this because this man gave it his all on the court, but he was there for his kids. The connection to his daughters, especially Gigi, who also transitioned with him. The two of them together transitioning, and that connection is quite visible. You can see it. But taking out the race/culture/ethnicity card, we'll put that to the side. Just the fact that we see a man connecting to his child or children, that's the beauty of what happened following his transition. People talking about him being there for his kids. That's what I loved more than anything. More than his career, more than the Oscars, more than his business aspirations. I love the fact that people were talking about him being there for his kids. It needs to be talked about because there are men who should be praised for being there for their children. If you are a man who is there, good job. Let's say you weren't a good father before and you really want to change. Keep moving forward. Be present. Be active. Men that do not have a purpose on earth are doomed for self-destruction. This is true. A man needs a purpose on the earth. Without purpose, there's no point for being here. There is no point for being here. The suicide rate is up among men. Do realize this, okay? We're losing them. We're losing our men. There are a lot of single parent households out there, and these men are going to become what? Who's raising these men right now? Who's raising these men that you think are useless? Who's raising these men who you think can't get the job done? Fail, weak. My challenge to you is to do the best you can to prevent that. It's a challenge. It is a challenge. And you know what? You may have to seek the village, going back to the idea of the village raises the child. Perhaps that needs to be considered going forward. But that is my challenge to everyone. We're losing our men. We're losing our fathers. The father has been destroyed. We're losing them. We need to gain our men back. We need to gain the strength of the man and the presence of the man. We need that back because everything starts in the home. It starts in the home. Do you understand? So when you have weakness in the home, then that's the first step. Now, that doesn't mean that a child would not succeed. It's just a bigger hill to climb. And I'm speaking on a human level. I'm speaking on a human level because there is the metaphysical level as well, which the majority of this series speaks to that. On the human level, we need our men. We do. You think you don't because you were told that, ladies. You were told that you don't need them. So you believed it. Yes. And you began to focus only on the ones who suck. But there are men roaming this earth today who are good men. The challenge for you is to be open to these men. So yes, Kobe Bryant set the standard, I think, for excellence in terms of believing in yourself and doing the best that you can and being there for children. I'm sure he's made mistakes, just like anyone else. We do fall short. No one is beyond reproach. But the finality of it all is that he was there for his children. If you are a man that is doing the same right now, keep moving forward. Keep being there for your children. Yes, if you are a man that is doing that right now, if you are leading, if you have the strength within, if you are doing what needs to be done, good. You deserve an applause. We need you, men. We need you, men. Continue to do what needs to be done. You have value on the earth, regardless of what you hear, regardless of what has been told to you. Men, you have value on the earth. Own it. Be it. Believe it.